Hello, and welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something critical, the Arctic. It's changing fast, and that has huge implications, especially for UK security. We've pulled together some key sources, scientific studies on the warming, geopolitical analysis, even UK government reports. Our mission, really, is to look past just the environmental headlines and understand the security challenges for the UK stemming from all this Arctic change. And we're very pleased to have Dr. James Thornton with us, a senior fellow who specializes in Arctic security studies. Welcome. Thank you for watching Westferry Times.
Thanks for having me. It's definitely a crucial topic right now.
Great. Okay, let's jump straight in then. The headline finding is pretty stark, isn't it? The Arctic warming 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. Beyond the environmental angle, what's the core security issue here, especially from a UK perspective?
Well, the speed of warming is key. But from a security angle, the consequence of that warming is the big thing. We're talking about the loss of sea ice. And that's not just an environmental marker. It fundamentally changes the physical space up there. Areas that were frozen solid are now, well, opening up navigable waters where there weren't any before.
Right.
So, yes, huge environmental impact, but it also kicks off a major geopolitical shift in the Arctic.
A geopolitical shift. Okay, can you unpack that a bit? What are the immediate results of this opening up?
Sure. The most obvious things are, first, potential new shipping routes. Shorter paths between Asia, Europe, North America. That's potentially huge for trade. And second, access. Access to resources, oil, gas, minerals that were previously locked onto the ice, basically unreachable. So suddenly you have these areas becoming zones of potential economic interest. And, that naturally draws in strategic interest from various countries.
And that's where the security aspect really ramps up, I imagine. How are the big international players actually reacting on the ground or on the water?
We're seeing some very clear moves. Russia, for example, is making a big push to increase its military footprint across its Arctic zone. They're reopening old Cold War bases, modernizing them, significantly boosting their northern fleet, new ships, new weapon systems. And their focus isn't just defensive. It potentially changes the military balance in the North Atlantic, which is, of course, very relevant to UK security.
And it's not just Russia making moves, is it? We hear a lot about China, too, even though they're nowhere near the Arctic geographically.
That's right. China has declared itself a near-Arctic state. A bit of a controversial term, perhaps. But their strategy is more maybe long-term positioning. Huge investments in polar science, research expeditions, building very advanced icebreakers. It's about establishing presence, gaining expertise, and potentially securing future access for economic reasons, maybe even resource extraction down the line.
So Russia's military buildup, China's strategic investments,
Yep.
It's definitely changing the whole security feel of the region.
Absolutely. The old assumptions about the Arctic being this sort of frozen, quiet zone are, well, melting away along with the ice.
Okay, let's bring this closer to home then. We have this changing Arctic, these big players making moves. What does this actually mean for the UK's security? Why should people listening, here in the UK be concerned?
Well, the UK isn't an Arctic state, obviously, but it's very close. We're in the neighborhood, essentially. So instability or increased military activity in the Arctic has direct knock-on effects for us. Think about the North Atlantic. That's our backyard, strategically speaking. Increased naval activity there, particularly submarine activity. That's a direct security concern.
Submarine activity. Yeah, that definitely sounds like a return to older tensions. Is that the main worry?
It's a significant one, certainly, but it's not the only one. These new sea routes, while maybe good for trade eventually, also raise questions about freedom of navigation. Who controls them? How are they governed? And crucially, undersea cables, the ones carrying almost all our internet data, financial transactions. A lot of them run through these northern waters. They're vital and potentially vulnerable.
That's a huge point. And how equipped is the UK to actually deal with these emerging challenges? You hear talk about our capabilities.
Well, that's a key part of the discussion. Currently, the UK operates just one ice-capable patrol ship, HMS Protector.
Just one.
Just one dedicated ice-capable vessel for these kinds of patrol and presence tasks. When you compare that to, say, the Russian Northern Fleet's icebreakers or even Coast Guard capabilities of other allies, well, it raises questions.
Right. It seems limited, perhaps, for monitoring such a vast and increasingly busy area.
There's certainly an argument that our current capacity might be stretched, yes, to effectively monitor, patrol, and respond in this changing environment.
Okay, so the direct security side is clear. But the effects of Arctic melting go wider for the UK than just military strategy, don't they? Environmentally, economically.
Oh, absolutely. You can't separate them entirely. Environmentally, the link is very direct. Melting Arctic ice sheets and glaciers are a major contributor to global sea level rise. And for an island nation like the UK, with extensive coastlines, that's a serious long-term threat. Coastal communities, infrastructure, erosion, it's all connected.
Mm-hmm. And the economic side, you mentioned potential shipping routes. Is that a net positive or negative for the UK?
It's mixed, potentially. New routes could benefit some UK ports, maybe offer shorter transit times for goods. But it also means increased competition from other ports, perhaps better located along those new Arctic routes.
Mm.
And then there's the resource question.
Waste risk extraction.
If there's a push to extract oil, gas, minerals from the Arctic,
Mm.
how does the UK engage with that? Does supporting it clash with our climate commitments, our environmental goals? It's ethically complex.
It really is a tangled web. So given all this, the security threats, the environmental impact, the economic questions, how is the UK government actually responding? Is there a plan?
Yes, there is a formal strategy. It's called the Looking North Framework.
Looking north, okay.
And it tries to address these different strands. It emphasizes scientific research, understanding the changes, environmental protection, and importantly, security cooperation with allies. A concrete example is Camp Viking in Norway. It's a forward base for UK forces to train and operate in Arctic conditions, often alongside NATO partners like Norway.
So there is activity investment happening.
There is. But going back to the capability point, many analysts argue it's not enough.
Right.
There are calls for more investment, specifically in things like more ice-capable ships, better surveillance technology, drones, satellites, to really get a handle on what's happening up there.
Understandable. And given it's such an international space involving multiple countries, how important is working with others? Can the UK go it alone here?
No, definitely not. International cooperation is absolutely essential. The Arctic Council is still the main forum for dialogue between Arctic states, even with current geopolitical tensions elsewhere.
Despite Russia's involvement.
Well, it makes things complicated. But the Council deals with crucial practical issues: science, environment, search and rescue, where cooperation is still vital. And for the UK, leveraging relationships within NATO is key, working with allies like Norway, Canada, the US, Denmark. That's crucial for regional stability.
And what about the people who actually live there? The indigenous communities?
A very important point. Any UK policy, any Arctic strategy really needs to engage with and respect the rights and knowledge of indigenous peoples who call the Arctic home. Their perspective is invaluable.
Absolutely. Well, this has been incredibly illuminating. As we wrap up this deep dive, what's the single most important takeaway you'd want our listeners to hold on to about Arctic warming and UK security?
I think the core message is connection. What happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic.
Yeah.
The changes up there, the ice melt, the geopolitical maneuvering are directly linked to the UK's security, its economy, and its environment. It's not some distant issue. So proactive engagement, strategic investment, and strong international partnerships aren't just options. They're really necessities for the UK to navigate what's coming.
A clear call for proactive engagement. Thank you so much for breaking all that down for us.
Yeah.
Your insights have been fantastic.
My pleasure. It's an important conversation to have.
And thank you all for joining us on the deep dive. This is definitely a story that's still unfolding, one we'll need to keep watching closely. Join us next time for another deep dive. But for now, perhaps consider this. As the Arctic map is redrawn by warming waters, how might the strategic map of the entire Northern Hemisphere, and indeed the world, ultimately shift in the decades to come? Something to think about. Goodbye for now.